Okay, welcome to Chapter 23. This is a video for WriteLatin.org using the Lingua Latina per se illustrated curriculum. And in this video, we are going to learn the really easy concept called the future active participle. First, we're going to go over the participle itself, its formula, which is really easy, and then we're going to go over all the applications that it has to all the various Latin constructions. And last, we are going to use what you learned to work through a story about the baths. Okay, so before we start, we have to review this. Thumb towards you means I, you, he, she, it, we, y'all, and they. Okay, also relevant here is going to be the forms of sum, the present of to be, and so recite it with me. It goes, ready, go. Sum est, sumus estis sunt. Right, okay. Okay, and here's how you make the future active participle. The tense sign is long U R, and that means going or about to blank. Okay, to the end of this, we'll put on our standard us, endings. Any case number and gender is fine. And the stem is going to come from the fourth principal part. So I'll take the fourth principal part and put on everything except the ending, vocat. So basically what you see I just did is I took vocatus, fourth principal part, and inserted UR right before the end of it. And once we do that, we've got the future active participle, vocaturus, which means going or about to call in the future. But it's not like way far in the future. It's like pretty soon in the future is more the sense of it. And of course, it can have any case number gender ending. So vocaturorum, vocaturo, vocaturi. Any of those are fine. Okay, so that's all you need to know about the future active participle. You could jump ahead to the questions at 22 minutes and you'd probably be fine. But the rest of the video, until then, is going to be going through all the applications that it now has. Because having this participle, we're now going to get another infinitive, and the infinitive itself will have lots of applications like indirect statement, complementary infinitive, etc., etc. And we're going to get another periphrastic. So I suggest you hang around and watch the middle of the video. Okay, so far we have had two participles. Vocans means calling, and vocatus meant having been called. Now we're going to get this one down here. Vocaturus means what? Right, which means going or about to call. So now we have not two, but how many? Three participles. All right, well, if we have another participle, guess what? Now we're going to have another infinitive too. How do you think we're going to make it? So far we had these infinitives, to call and to be called. And then just like them, we could take esse, which is an infinitive like them, and tack onto the front of it either the perfect stem or the fourth principal part, and now we have two more infinitives. And that created the whole past tense. So now we have, count the arrows here, 1, 2, 3, 4 infinitives. Well, guess what we're going to get now? Right, the future realm. So esse vocaturis is going to be our new infinitive now. So now we've got how many? 5, right. Now this one down here is actually backward. They would say it vocaturis esse almost all of the time, but we'll deal with that later. And there is technically a sixth infinitive here, but it's really bizarre and I have never seen it occur in real Latin. Technically it's vocatus iri. They're trying to make the verb to go passive, which makes no sense, so no one ever uses it. So really 5 here is the total number of infinitives for all practical purposes in Latin. So guess what? You've got them all. Way to go. Now you see the complete system. Present active, present passive, perfect active, perfect passive. Now this is what? Right, the future active infinitive. And there is no real future passive infinitive. Okay, great. All right, and then of course with these infinitives, they all obey relative time. So no matter where that main verb goes, whether it's wolo or possum or some indirect statement causing verb of mental action. The secondary verbs, in this case infinitives, describe action relative to the time of the main verb. So again, you can't know the time of the infinitive unless you first know the time of the main verb. So I want to draw your attention to where all these 5 infinitives come from. So the 2 present infinitives come from the second principal part, and the third principal part gives us the perfect active. And now, what about the last 2 infinitives? Where do they come from? Right, the fourth principal part. Now that's good enough for the perfect passive over there. However, down here we need to add in one more thing. What are we missing? Right, you are. And that's our future active infinitive, using the future active participle inside of it together with esse. Vocaturus esse, to be about to call. So that's the way it goes. And if you have the verb to be in there, then what can you say about the ending? What case must it be? Remember the 2 wings of the airplane? It must be nominative. Well, scratch that, because it occurs to me that in indirect statements, it's sometimes accusatives on both wings. So I guess the better rule is that the 2 wings must match in case. But most of the time, must be nominative. Other cases with other verbs, not be, can have any case. Like, for instance, I see the girl about to call the police over there. That would be the accusative. Vocaturam, not nominative. Okay, so now you've got all 5 of your infinitives, and you know what forms they can have, only nominatives. Or in the rare case of indirect statement, accusatives. So infinitives are good. Now this future active participle is going to create another problem for us. We're going to have another periphrastic. Mr. Edmund, you've never said periphrastic before. Yeah, I know. Sadly, you've already been using periphlastics and I didn't tell you. It's a really minor concept. You don't even have to remember the word for all I care. This is what it was. You were using it all along. So when you said vocans est, that was a periphrastic. Basically, anytime you use a participle with the verb to be, and it's not an infinitive, default is that it's then a periphrastic, basically. Okay, so vocans est is a periphrastic. You had another periphrastic with another participle. Vocatus est. He was called. Really, it's just the past tense, but technically it's a periphrastic. Participle with est. Right. Okay, but here is where the real term periphrastic gets used. Really, it's in the 2 future participles. So today we're getting our first real one. Like if you go to a school and they talk about the periphrastics, they're almost always talking about only the futures over here, not those. So here we're going to have the active periphrastic. Really, it's the future active periphrastic, but no one ever says future. They just say the active periphrastic. Vocaturus est. Vocatura est. She is going to call. So that makes our third periphrastic. Okay, so what are they then? The first one is she is calling. This next one is she was called, or she is having been called back then. And this one is she is about to call, or she is going to call. All right, so there's our 4 periphrastics, including the one you don't know. Why am I belaboring this stupid term periphrastic? Yeah, I hate it too. It's completely unnecessary, completely redundant. I mean, you can just think of this as a participle with est. Why do we have to have this special name, periphrastic? Well, the reason is because besides the 3 that we know already, there's this 4th one up here. And the problem is that that 4th one up there is something serious. That has got other stuff going on with it. And so that one actually is special. And sadly, we're not going to get to that until several chapters later. So the term periphrastic will make sense when you get that in a few chapters. But because it is used in that case where it really should be used. Some linguistic genius decided to also call this one over here a periphrastic also, the future active periphrastic. But it's really stupid because there's no reason to give special names to these. They're no more than the sum total of their parts, right? So just basically don't worry about this terminology. And the only one you have to pay attention to is the passive periphrastic, which we'll get in a few more chapters. But because we're dealing with it, I should point out that it does follow relative time. So for instance, he was going to call. So the calling then you can see is relative to the was. And so the calling could be here in the past, if the balloon is closer in, or it could be in the present right now. He was going to call, and now he's doing it right now. Or it could even be in the future. He was intending to call back then and he hasn't done it yet. So this is, again, you're used to this concept of relative time. So wherever the main verb goes, the cloud of secondary verbs travels with it. Okay, so we have only one irregular thing in this chapter, and that's sum esse. Sum has a weird fourth principle part. It's irregular, and it's a future active participle rather than a perfect passive participle. Watch. The first principle part is the same, just like a normal verb. They both mean I blank. The second principle part is normal, just like a normal verb. They both mean to blank. The third principle part is normal, like a regular verb. They both mean I blanked. And then the fourth principle part is where something weird happens. Normally, it's a PPP, meaning having been blanked. But in the case of sum, you can't say having been binned. So there is no such thing as futus, which is what you would think it would be. Well, that creates a problem for linguists because the whole theory of principal parts is that every single Latin form in the whole 180 set of Latin verb endings should be deducible from one of these principal parts. And if we don't have a futus, then where did futurus come from? I don't know. So what they decided to do was make futurus itself the fourth principal part. So you're just going to have to get used to that for this verb sum esse, fui, it's going to have a FAP, futurus, meaning going to be. And that's different than all other fourth principal parts. So how do we use this? Well, it's really just a glorified way to say something in the future, or to use like a future adjective. So in English, this is basically the progressive tense. You can say I will laugh, or I am going to laugh. Well, this is basically I am going to laugh. Futura sum ridere. The other way you can use it is just as a standard participle. So Caesar, futurus imperator, da da da. Caesar, someday destined to be an emperor, decided to da da da.
What word does this give us in English? That's right, the future. So you could even say Caesar, the future emperor.
Decided to da da da. Okay, so for the active periphrastic, it goes, I'm going to be, you are going to be if you're a masculine. He, she, or it is going to be if it's a masculine. We are going to be, futuri sumus. Y'all are going to be, and they are going to be, about to be, whatever. And then the feminines, if I were a girl, futura sum, I'm going to be futura est, you are going to be, futura est, she is going to be, futurae sumus, we are going to be, futurae estis, y'all are going to be, and futurae sunt, they are going to be.
And again, instead of going and about to be, you could translate it, I am the future blank, you are the future blank, etc.
Okay, so we've had infinitives and periphrastics. Well, these create even more applications. First, indirect statement. So you knew it like this, Marcus, mental actions, some accusative to blank. And you could also have a secondary accusative, to blank another accusative. But since we have an infinitive there, guess what we can now put in there? Right, a future active infinitive. So for instance, Marcus confesses the gladiator to win is what you had. Now it can become Marcus confesses the gladiator to be going to win. Vincturum esse. And actually this is technically out of order. They almost always put the esse last. So they would say it like this. The gladiatorum vincturum esse. And since this is indirect statement, notice what case the FAP has to be. Right, because it's matching gladiatorum, which is already accusative. So this is basically what construction? Two wings of an airplane, right? So here gladiatorum is a wing and vincturum is a wing. Whatever's on one side has to be the same as whatever is on the other side. It's a disbalanced airplane because both wings are on the left side. So then let's take stock of all the indirect statements we can make with all our different kinds of infinitives. So Marcus confesses the gladiator to win was a present active infinitive. In the past, we had the perfect active infinitive. He confesses the gladiator to have won. Then we have the perfect passive. He confesses the gladiator to be conquered or to have been conquered. And then present passive. He confesses the gladiator to be conquered. Once again, back to the present. And then now we've also got the future active. He confesses the gladiator to be what? Going to conquer, right? And this is what I said before about the ending matching gladiator in case, number, and gender. Alrighty, so here we go. Marcus was confessing the gladiator to be about to conquer. Marcus confessed the gladiator to be about to conquer. Now we haven't had this. We'll have this next chapter. This is pluperfect. It'll go Marcus had confessed the gladiator to be about to conquer, but you haven't gotten that yet. And then Marcus will confess the gladiator to be about to conquer even later in the future than that. All right, so that's all relative time. Great. So try these. First, review the vocab up top because you're going to be making sentences out of these words. And then, so start it somewhere and stop it. And then try to put it into Latin. Marcus, all to have been kept, wrote. Now, kept here is retineo, retinere, retinui, retentus. So let's say it. Marcus omnes to have been kept. Now, what infinitive would that be? Been is passive, apostrophe V is past tense. So this is your PPP, so retentum. And then it has to match all, so you would probably better make it retentos. Show the answer. Yes, Marcus omnes retentos esse wrote. Scripsit. All right, I missed that one. Okay, try again. Marcus them to have been guarded, denied. Marcus eos custoditos esse negavit. Custoditos esse negavit. Hopefully you'll get some future active participles like this one. Marcus matrem custodituram esse scripsit. Right? Okay, so you want to do these long enough that you can get it all right every time. Just take it straight in order, translating word by word. So download this PowerPoint from the description underneath this video and try this until you're a master of doing this. And then once you've got that done, then try it all in black and white, because that's harder. Another application for the FAP is ablative absolutes. So far we've had with Amelia the teacher, noun plus noun. With Amelia right, noun plus adjective. We've also had with Amelia silent, noun plus PRAP. And then Amelia intellecto, noun plus PPP. Now we're going to get Amelia saltura, about to jump, noun plus FAP. With Amelia about to jump. So here's all your ablative absolutes that you know so far. With Amelia being silent, I think, present. With Amelia having been understood, I think, past. Now we're getting with Amelia about to jump, future. And so that's all three of them. And then someday we'll have the future passive participle also in the ablative absolute, but not yet. So these obey relative time. So with Amelia about to jump, she is warned. With Amelia about to jump, she was warned. With Amelia about to jump, she was being warned. With Amelia about to jump, she had been warned. Oh, that's foolish, Amelia. And then with Amelia about to jump, she will be warned. Now that sounds sort of stupid, so you probably should use a better translation than with blank blank. And so here's what I suggest you use. Since Amelia is about to jump, she will be warned. That makes a lot more sense, because when and while just don't really cut it. Remember, these are all the secondary translations that could replace the literal one with the blank blank. Sometimes you'd want to say something more roundabout than just with the blank blank. So this is good for if you're making translations. Okay, so this future active participle, saltura, is going to admit of the 4 translations that the present did. See how they're both green? It will not admit of the after translation that only past participles get. That makes sense, of course, wouldn't it?
Because all these ablative absolutes have the sense of right now being viewed from the time of the main verb. And so the only way to prevent after from running away into the future is if it is starting from a have been. But the future active participle has no sense of have been.
Okay, so try these. These are pretty easy. This is just to get you in the use of recognizing which of the so far 4 participles you have got when you see the English. So if I see going or about to jump, which participle is that? Future. So try to make it a future. Sal what? Saltura, right? Yeah, saltura, right. So just make sure you're able to recognize which participle. Which one would this one be? Being silent? P-R-A-B, yeah. Of course, you could do the second word, the main verb too. We were trembling. Tremebamos. Yeah, that's fine. But the main thing is to make sure you get each participle correct. All right, so try this and then start the video again when you're ready to move on. Okay, the final section of this chapter is we're going to do a little story, and you're going to watch it and then fill in the blanks on the FAPs on the second go-around. I want to apologize for the nudity. This is not something I wish to do, and I tried to make it as non-salacious as I possibly could, but there is no way that I can present the very common topic of how a Roman bath works without being honest about how Romans generally used it, which was with no clothes on. Yes, there were scandals, but also many people were just using it for hygiene. So I suggest you take the motto of the Order of the Garter, shame be to them that there think it. All right. You'll notice that in this story, it's only unisex. It's not both sexes together. Historically, yes, that did occur, and there were some scandals, and so the Romans quickly stopped it. Then after that, there is some confusion among scholars. There are several theories, and it sounds like it changed throughout history about how the Romans ran their baths. Sometimes they had one set of baths with women in the morning and men at the afternoon. At other times, it seems like they built their bathhouses with 2 separate sections, one for the men and one for the women, so that there would be no even chance of running into the others. Bathhouses in general, this was one of the big draws for people to want to come into the Roman Empire. Caesar could conquer Gaul and Agricola could conquer Britain, but the only way to pacify them and actually make them be Romans was to wow them with all this neat technology and culture that the Roman Empire imported, which, according to Caesar, softened their hard, barbarian, militaristic virtues and feminized them. So this is a really beautiful part of Roman culture if you can overlook the nudity. And it is even practiced to this day, all throughout the Mediterranean, and even throughout the world there are spas and Turkish baths, which often follow the same patterns and practices of the ancient Roman baths. So stop the video and look through these, and I suggest you recite them and pay a special attention to the orange ones, because those are pretty new to you. So I suggest you stop the video and do that, and then start it again when you're ready to keep going. And then here's the second page of vocab, and I suggest you just skim these and make sure you know the meanings. That's all. Okay, so first part. Quarta hora est. Termae mulieribus aperturae sunt. So hopefully you can translate this. It's the 4th hour. The baths are going to open to the women. Now that's the only one I'm going to translate. The rest you're going to have to translate yourself. Termis aperientibus, there's an ablative absolute. Intranturae, the ones going to what? Janitori custodienti numum tradunt.
In apoduterio
Natanturae vestes deponunt et relinquunt. You can see everyone has their little niche where they leave their clothing. So apoditerium is a Greek word. Apo means from. Dyt is the same as Latin dut. So like if you have induo to put on clothes, apoduo would be to what? But of course we want Latin, not Greek. So in Latin it would be something like
abduo and abduterium,
which there is no word like that. So the Romans just would use the Greek word from their culture.
The truly Latin word for putting off is deponere.
Ancillula vestes custoditura procedunt. There's an ablative absolute. Here's the ancillula sitting right here. In tepidario mulieres multae collocuntur, una amica altari se excusat, dicit se iacituram esse pro tersu cum oleo. Oh boy, this is just like a spa. So can you figure out what's happening? We're going to leave one lady behind. Here's the second room. Call. Oh, grata, Wilvia, jungenos. Grata means welcome. Join us. Amica alia, nuper visa.
Feminae concessurai
Salutum dicit et invitat. You might not have had that phrase yet, salutum dicit. That's in this chapter. It means to say a greeting or say hello. Quam
sibitmet ipsis
notissimi blank. Tamen vix aiunt. Yeah. Propter aerem calidissimum humidumque. Salve iterum amiga Tarentia. Can you figure out what goes in this blank here? What word we should supply? It's not necessary, but it could be supplied. Yep. Flashback. Interim in tepidario prima femina ab ancilla tersum tunc lavatum in oleo accipit. Oleo ab strigile remoto surgit, exit, et discessura ad laborem vestimenta induit. Facta calida aqualidior iam ea lusura est, extra in palaestra foras it. Ah, satis calida est aqua, minimis calida mihi. In palaestra feminae ludunt, variis ludis, et se exercent futuris sanis et corpora formosa habituris necessa est exercere. And here you see the picture that this came from. It looks to me like a huge mosaic. And I think this one is in
Sicily.
And notice some of the things in here. There's someone playing ultimate frisbee. And then crown of victory, palm of victory. Someone awarding themselves. And then a pala, a ball. And then I have no idea what this is. Does anyone know what this is? Postea Drusus sedet in tepidario, tum itura est ad frigidarium, ubi se lavatura est. Non diu hic solum momentum. Hic in frigidario se lavant antequam regrediuntur ad apoditerium, ubi veste suas itrum induturae sunt pro discessu. Hic in frigidario se lavant antequam regrediuntur ad apoditerium, ubi veste suas itrum induturae sunt pro discessu. Lava plus in hac munda aqua, Ophelia. Mimis frigida est mihi nolo manere. All right, now you try. So for all the FAPs, let's see if you can give it right away, or with an English clue, or maybe even with at least a Latin clue. It is the 4th hour. The baths are going to blank for the women. Now, how are you going to get this? Well, first, let's see if you can get it like this. If you can't get it like this, then here is the English. Going to or about to open. Can you get it now? And if you can't get it now, here's the Latin. Now you should be able to get it from looking at the Latin, because remember how to get it from the Latin? What's the formula? You take the 4th principal part and you add what before the ending, right there. You are. So it should be apertura, tur what? Turai, because it has to match the termi, right. Aperturai, great. With the baths opening, the one's going to blank to the doorman guarding, hand over a coin. The English, about to enter. And the Latin? Well, so what would this one be? Intraturae, yes. You have to know it goes intro, intrare, intravi, intratus. And so you take that intratus and add you are. Great. In the changing room, going to blank, they take off their clothes and leave them. English, the one's going to swim. And the Latin? So what would this be? Nataturae. Yes, very good. With the slave girl going to blank the clothes, they proceed. English? Latin? Custoditura. Ancillula vestes custoditura procedunt. In the warm room, many women chat. One friend to the other excuses herself, says herself to be going to blank for a rub down with oil. English, to be going to lie down. Latin, Jacituram esse. Give yourself a pat on the back if you got that one. You had to know that it would be 2 words because it was an infinitive, to be, and you had to know that it would be accusative. This is your rare accusative. Why? Because the 2 wings of an airplane must match in case. And in an indirect statement, the first wing is se, which is an accusative. Right, so Jacituram has to match it and also be accusative. Another friend, recently seen, to the woman going to blank, says hello and invites, although to themselves very familiar. However, scarcely they talk on account of the very hot and humid air. All right, so what goes here? English, to the woman going to sit down together. Latin, concessurai, so feminae concessurai salutum dicit. Meanwhile, in the warm room, the first woman by a slave girl, or better yet, from a slave girl, a rub down, then a wash in oil accepts, or receives. With the oil removed by a striggle, which is that little instrument there, a kind of a hooked bar, she gets up, exits, and going to blank to work, puts on her clothes. Can you get it? Going to depart, about to depart. Can you think it? Latin. Now you should be able to get it. Discessura ad laborem. Right. Very good. Made warm and feeling better, healthier. Now she going to blank is outside in the practice field. She goes out. Can you get it? She going to blank is going to play. And here's the Latin. Yeah, you would probably not get this one because you expect L-U-D, but in the past tense it becomes L-U-S. Lusura est. This is where we get our word ludus ludi, which is the word for a game, right? And which we're going to see right here. In the practice field, the women play by various games, and they exercise themselves. To healthy ones going to blank and going to have shapely bodies, it is necessary to exercise. To healthy ones going to blank, what would that be? Well, if you remember from the story, one's going to be, so, or to future ones, you might say, because there's the Latin. All right, so this is the exception. It's just futuris. Yes, futuri sanis, to future healthy ones. Blah, blah, blah. Afterwards, again she sits in the warm room. Then, going to blank she is to the cold room where herself going to blank she is. First blank, the Latin, going to go. What would that be? Eo ire ii itus. So what would it be? Itura est. Ad frigidarium, now the next blank where herself she is going to wash. What would that be? Latin? Lavatura est. Very nice. Here in the cold room, they wash themselves before they return to the changing room, where their clothes, again, going to blank they are for departure. What would be the term for putting on clothes? It's induo, like it's the same word as apoditerium, but in rather than apo. So this would be induturae sunt, right, because it's plural. All right, well, if you were able to do that, you're certainly ready to do chapter 23, so good luck, and see you in chapter 24. Walete!